All right, folks, welcome in to another edition of the Last Word on Sports Media podcast. I am the somewhat competent host, TJ Reeves. Hello to my co-host, Mike Gill, as we're ready to chop up some sports media topics, subjects, television audience, news, notes, and anything else we can come up with. Mr. Gill, good to be back with you. We were frenemies last week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Much of the country saw the game on Fox Sports, won by the Eagles. So now we're back aboard to talk some sports media. How you feeling as we come in on another edition here?
Doing all right. We win the game 4-0, Eagles are, and there's more drama because of what happened post-game. No one seems to care that they won in Tampa, a place they've struggled. It was more about A.J. Brown's tweet after the game.
Always something with him. I think we said that as a preface last week, including me being on your show on Friday. Am I to understand that there was more than one Eagle fan that was none too happy with the truth being spoken about Jalen Hurts being 1-4 against the Buccaneers and the Buccaneers repeatedly winning huge, important games against the Eagles? We had problems with the truth while I was on your weekday show in Atlantic City, the Sports Bash. Is that what was going on?
Yeah, well, you were not a popular guest. People thought that, I don't know exactly what, but they were like, "Hey, who's this guy? Get him off!"
Get him off. He keeps talking about how they shut down the vet. He keeps talking about how they won the first game ever at Lincoln Financial Field. He keeps talking about how they knocked us out of the playoffs in 21. We can't have the truth. We can't have the truth that, wait a minute, let me look at my stats. This whole stuff about how Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown didn't play in the game last year. All right, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown played in the game on Sunday. I was there. You were watching.
The Eagles won.
Let's see. The Eagles did win. Devontae Smith, 2 catches, 27 yards. A.J. Brown, 2 catches, 7 yards in the game. So they did play in the game, and the Eagles found a way to win. Give them credit. Maybe they'll see each other down the road. All right, so that leads us right into it. By the way, thank you for finding us on the video show on Mike Gill's YouTube page. On podcast, if you're hearing us after the fact, come find the video show. Podcast audience, though, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, take us in the AirPods, the earbuds, the Bluetooth, etc. We love talking sports media, the ins and outs. Coming up, we're going to talk about the massive TV audience for Packers Cowboys that ended in a tie, no winner. Have we reached a breaking point, by the way, with the alternate ESPN Monday Night crew and Chris Fowler calling the games? We're going to talk about that. College football, huge numbers Saturday. Ryder Cup actually had some drama and some audience. We'll discuss all of this in a few. But back to that Buccaneers Eagles game. You obviously were monitoring the television call of Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady. Jump in here. What did you think of the number one crew there doing the game?
Well, I mean, Brady's obviously getting better. He's getting more comfortable. I mean, he's still not a quote-unquote number one guy. I mean, he's still better suited if he was on the second or probably third team. I mean, he gives you some insight here and there if you want to take a look at some of the things that he adds to the game. At times, you're like, that's what I want from him. And then there's other times where you're, yearning for a little bit more. For whatever reason, and I don't know if – for whatever reason, it just lacks the big game feel. Does it not? Do you feel that it has a like when?
Well, I got the chance to watch him on the Eagles Chiefs, the Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City, which was 2 weeks ago that we got to see that. And he relates the stories about being in the big moments, and he's obviously enthusiastic. I mean, we've seen the clip. I have not rewatched the game, so I can't really critique. But the clip of Baker Mayfield breaking a couple of tackles and getting a first down, and he's yelling out, "Oh!" when he makes the play. So that's there at the right times. But you say it just lacks something now. You were much more a fan of Greg Olsen being there with Kevin Burkhardt.
I was. Well, for instance, he mentioned Moro Ojomo as a player for the Eagles. He mispronounced his name, and, that's something that you get from the Chris Myers, Mark Schlereth team. They're butchering guys' names, all this stuff. Like, when you had the number one team, you're expecting Moro Ojomo is a pretty, he's not a household name, but he's a rotational player who does get a good amount of snaps. That you know who that is. It just doesn't, like when Buck and Aikman do a game, it feels like a bigger game than the number 2 ESPN team. And I feel like when Chirico and the Sunday night crew do a game, it feels bigger. And for whatever reason, this Burkhardt-Brady duo does not have a big game feel to it.
Couple of other things. I mean, number one, they have an army of people doing these games whenever these biggest crews come. Nance and Romo on CBS. You mentioned the Sunday night crew, the Monday night crew, Amazon. So, I mean, again, there was a fortress. I talked to somebody that was trying to do something in the television booth, which is right down probably 30 feet from our radio booth in Raymond James Stadium. And he said, I can't get in there because they've got 19 people in there, literally 19 people in the number one home television or the number one network TV booth trying to get in there. So it's not for a lack of personnel trying to help, and you've got all the cameras and all the TV trucks and all the glitz and glamour. People can't fathom. It's worse with ESPN. I mean, when we pulled up to Houston and they're going to do a Monday night game, actually we're going to go to Detroit for another Monday night game. They've done Monday night games in Tampa. I mean, ESPN literally has over 300 people at a Monday night game because they're also doing ESPN Deportes with their crew. And that has some different production people, a different production truck. It's amazing how many people they have at these games with all the cameras and all the technical stuff and the audio. It's wild. I was down around Erin Andrews for a lot of the game, and it was hot.
Yeah.
Down there with her, she's used to it. She had the hat going, the fashionable hat. She's much more fashionable now. She's got a woman there helping her with her makeup. I don't have to worry about my makeup while I'm on radio, Mike Gill. For doing this, but there you go with the number one crew being in Tampa.
Yeah, listen, it could be because I had really high expectations for Brady. I thought he was going to be awesome at this, and he's just
okay.
Good, not great.
Good, not great. Okay.
Yeah, he would be good if he was like the guy on the third team with Adam Amin, and they're doing the game, and you're like, okay. Like, that's where he really should have started, obviously. That's where guys kind of get your feet wet, find your voice, and kind of grow. He gets thrown into the number one team, and then he gets off to kind of a lackluster start. Now he's playing behind the 8 ball. He's better, though. He's way better than he was last year.
Well, and so maybe that's room for improvement here for him. All right, so let's get to the Sunday night game, which did you hear anything about this in the buildup that Micah Parsons was going against his old team? Did anybody know anything about that? Did we know? I think we did know about that, right? That he was coming back with the Green Bay Packers after Jerry Jones traded him on the eve of the season for a couple of number one picks and a player. So the numbers are in. First of all, the second highest scoring tie in the history of the NFL, 40-40 tie. Both teams one possession in overtime. Both kicked a field goal, including the Packers kicking the field goal with a second left for the tie. How about not much defense being played? The last 9 possessions of the game were scores in the game, including the 2 in the overtime. And again, the audience is now in, as you see there on the screen, that I don't see the breakout on what the final hour peaked at, but they averaged over 26 million people watching on Sunday night. I got to believe the final hour, which bled past midnight Eastern time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, hour 10 Central time, was probably 30 million people watching because it's the Cowboys, Mike. Give me a thought on any or all of that. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, and look, we know that the numbers are all kind of juiced now. I mean, you got 26.9 million viewers for the game. I mean, what was that 5 years ago? Who knows? I don't know what to make of these numbers anymore. But, yeah, you got Dallas, who is the top draw in the league for the most part, if not number 1 or 2 with Kansas City, if you want to throw them in there. And you have Green Bay, another national type of team. And then you had this Parsons return, and they built it up to be the biggest thing ever. So not surprised that the numbers are what they are. The numbers in football are growing across the board no matter what. I mean, those 2 games last night, that Monday night gave us both direct games. I'm sure the ratings are going to be great for the 2 Monday night games.
Probably.
Yep. So, yeah, this is not a big surprise, but you're right. They really laid it on thick there with the Micah Parsons returning.
All right, so you mentioned this. That the dual Monday, we warned everybody about the dual Monday night games here being the 0-3 Jets at the 0-3 Dolphins, and how much can you really expect, and could they have ever flexed out of that situation, et cetera. And then the second game that was going to be on ABC that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were doing was Cincinnati at 2-1 against 1-2 Denver. And so, you had a low expectation as it was. Neither game was great. Tyreek Hill's injury obviously was a massive story in the first game. But so too, and this tends to happen in social media, was the blasting of the announce crews. I just put something there if you want to put this tweet up as well. When the media critics started coming out about the broadcast of the game, and Chris Fowler on the call of the game, Chris Fowler, who does the top college game every week with Kirk Herbstreit on Saturday night, does their tennis coverage, been around ESPN forever, and he's been doing these secondary Monday night games and even doing the special like ESPN Plus game that they've had on a couple of occasions, including they did a London game, has the extra crew that he's been on. Yeah, but like Mike, you can put the comment up. I put it there backstage from Ryan Glasspiegel that as Fowler was calling the game, when you have well-known media critics saying, I don't want to be mean, but ESPN has 25 play-by-play broadcasters who are better at the job than Chris Fowler. I mean, you got that going on. I'm going to try to find the one from Andrew Marchand of The Athletic, who's one of the most noteworthy sports media critics. He does a great job with this, and I'm gonna find his, and I'm gonna send it to you too.
Well, I would say this.
Go ahead.
This is what I would say. I think Herbstreit does a great job for college. I think he's just okay on Thursday Night Football. Some guys voices are just, for whatever reason, are connected more to college football than they are professional football. Chris Fowler is one of those guys. And quite frankly, when I think of Fowler, I know he does the play-by-play for the biggest college football game every week, but I think of him as more of the studio guy from when he did College Game Day. Chris Myers does play-by-play, long-time guy. He does a great job as like up close and the studio guy. When he's a play-by-player
NASCAR studio, baseball studio, and he does a lot of times like the fourth game on the Fox NFL. And I know Chris personally and love him, but I understand not everybody's going to like what you do. I mean, heck,
Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen is a studio host. When he does play-by-play for those NFL Network games, it is not a well-done
And he was doing the Sunday game with Kurt Warner from Ireland, the Steelers-Vikings game. And again, you're going to see them several more times on the London games and those NFL exclusives, those NFL Network exclusives that'll be on Saturday. Here's also the Andrew Marchand comment. As the Dolphins-Jets game wore on Saturday night, I put that backstage as well. Look at Marchand finally put this on social media. And again, he's got a lot of engagement, large following of people that back him. And he says executives many times just throw three people together and it sounds like it. Fowler, Riddick, and Orlovsky are an example on this extra crew. What about it, Mike? One more time.
Well, listen, Fowler is a college guy. He's thrown into these games. How many times a year does he work with Riddick and Orlovsky? How many times do Riddick and Orlovsky work together? It's not easy just to throw three guys in the booth together. I don't know why they just randomly said, let's go get Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky and put them in a booth with a college play-by-player.
Can I interject? What do you I think Louis Riddick is really good. If it was Fowler and just Louis Riddick, I think it would be fine. Again, I know Dan Orlovsky a little bit, but I think Riddick is better than him. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think individually Riddick does a nice job. I think Dan does a nice job, but you put them together and now they don't work together enough. And then Fowler is not a strong enough play-by-player to kind of direct the traffic there for those two guys to be able to get it. You got to have a guy who really can command the room there, and Chris Fowler is not that guy. He works in a one-man booth with Kirk Herbstreit every single week. That's who his rhythm is with, not two guys.
True.
And the NFL game is a different game. You got Joe Tessitore, who did Monday Night Football a couple of years ago. Maybe try to throw him into that booth and say, hey, you did Monday Night Football. You at least have that. Now, I know Monday nights he's doing Monday Night Raw, so maybe he's not available.
Wrestling. Well, and interesting, I enjoy Riddick with Bob Wischusen on the college games. They were working the Friday night Florida State-Virginia game.
And that was a great game. That was a great game.
And I think Wischusen's very underrated, but, I mean, he rose to the moment with the analysis and with whatever, and so
we can all say this, TJ. We can all say this, okay? And this isn't a slight to anybody that's got these jobs. Everybody generally is a professional and does a good job.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of guys who do play-by-play that are not on networks and are not on known that do a way better job than the guys who are doing
Sure.
games. I mean,
A lot
let's
of times
be honest,
it's
there are
who do
plenty
you know?
of guys.
A lot of times it's your agent being able to negotiate for you. Absolutely. There are many, many
You're
qualified
going to
people.
see these baseball playoffs right now, and you're going to be saying these are the best guys they could find, and you're essentially just throwing guys who don't do baseball all season long, and you're saying, hey, you want to do a baseball game? And on top of the fact, for some of the guys who do baseball all season long, you're saying, hey, my local guy that I listen to every night does a better job than this guy does. It's just the nature of the business,
Sure.
and that's not a slight to people. It is who you know, how'd you get that? But there are so many great play-by-players out there that don't get the recognition that you don't have to use Chris Fowler, who has a job, a high-profile job, to do a Monday Night Football game. This is where you groom the next guy to be your big guy and say, hey, you're a young guy who does a really good job. We're going to put you on Monday Night Football. You know, you're not going to put some rando on the game, but a guy that you think is an up-and-comer. You don't need to have your top college football voice also call your secondary NFL game.
Yep. All right, let's back up to the college for just a couple of moments. Wild Saturday, huge matchups, and the ratings delivered. The primetime Alabama-Georgia game did average over 10 million people. It peaked at over 12.5 million people for the conclusion in the final 11 p.m. Eastern time hour, where Alabama upset Georgia. That the day started with the Notre Dame blowout of Arkansas, as our video audience sees on the screen, and then LSU and Arkansas, a really entertaining game for the lead-in. I did see CBS announce their highest audience, not only of this season, but their highest first-month audience the last 2 years of doing the Big Ten. That was for Ohio State's win over Washington, and that game had over 6.5 million people watching in the second half of the game. The Peacock game, here we go with Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge. They're a fun listen. I enjoy them. The yin and yang of Eagle being a lot younger. Blackledge is a well-known analyst and a brand product. They work every week. They had around 7.5 million watching the Oregon-Penn State dramatic finish won by Oregon in double overtime. James Franklin's up in your part of the world. He's now 4-21, by the way, in games against top 10 teams. Another loss for him. Again, NBC says that over 7.5 million people were watching Oregon-Penn State. A thought on college football from Saturday in the broadcasts?
Well, this was a huge weekend. I mean, and sometimes you're wondering, why do we get 6 games like this on one Saturday, and then the next Saturday you're like, hey, you're scratching and clawing to try to find a game. You have obviously some huge matchups last week. Alabama, Georgia, on at the same time as Penn State and Oregon.
Yep.
I'm sure if you're ABC and CBS, you're saying, do we have to play these games at the same time? Can't we both get big audiences here? Plus, you had LSU, Ole Miss. I mean, so you had big brands all going. You know, a lot of times, and I'm just looking at right now, coming up on October the 11th. I'm a big fan of like trying to piece together what time things are going to go and where and the networks and who's going to pull them out. So Stuart Mandel just tweeted this out, that the October 11th selections, you're getting Alabama, Missouri at noon on ABC. Ohio State, Illinois will be the big noon game on Fox.
Interesting.
3:30, you're going to get Oklahoma, Texas on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, Oregon at 3:30 on CBS. Michigan, USC at 7:30
on NBC. And then what's the prime time? And then what's the prime time ABC game for that night at 2 weeks?
Florida versus Texas A&M, Georgia Auburn, or South Carolina LSU. So they're going the ABC game.
Best SEC game. And again, the SEC audience is more loyal, bigger audience, week in and week out for this. And ABC and ESPN can move the best games around into the 3:30 Eastern slot, 2:30 Central, and then the nighttime slot. To help them. Now, they've got Miami, Florida State this Saturday, and you know that I'm in the state of Florida.
Yeah, that game took a little hit.
All right, so Florida State's already lost a game, but it's not going to get the 11 to 13 million people. It will do well to probably get 7 or 8 million because the ACC audience is not the SEC audience. As big a game as what this used to be in the 80s and the 90s, it's not going to draw the same way. And there you were showing the television audience about next weekend. I think CBS for this weekend has Michigan and Wisconsin. That should be a big follow-up also for them after having Ohio State last week.
As Austin Karp pointed out, 4 top 10 teams all playing at 3:30.
Right. And again, if you're CBS, you get one game. ESPN is moving 3 or 4 games around for the best matchup, noon, 3:30, or at night.
So
that's how it works.
Ryan Glasspiegel, who's does a really good job for Front Office Sport, he actually posted today about how all of the draft all works. It was a
selection from week to week of who gets what game in what order. Right.
Correct. Like, so Fox on their big noon, they get the first 3 selections, and they get the big noon, then for the Big Ten, and then the rest of them go to the other networks that carry Fox. Because there's a lot of people that are complaining about why the biggest Big Ten games are always at noon.
Because Fox paid the most money, and they've got that slot, and it's working. I saw that for the USC-Illinois game, they averaged like over 5 million people at noon and did really well. Again, they want the best game because they paid the most money. And I know Lincoln Riley, the USC coach, was complaining about a 9 a.m. start time on their body clock, 11 a.m. local start time in Champaign. You guys signed up for this. USC moved into the Big Ten. You signed up for taking all the money. This is part of the deal.
One of the things, as Glasspiegel points out, I got the tweet here. I'll put it up on the screen for the people watching. One of the things he points out is that, like, Ohio State, they don't want to play at night. They want to play these noon games.
Right, correct.
So here's how it works, and this is a long list, but Fox gets the first 3 draft picks, and then it's a draft with CBS and NBC. They don't draft games before the season. So that's a big thing is they wait. So I'm a program director for a radio station. I have all the games that the radio stations are covering or radio networks are covering, but I never know what time they are going to be on until the week before. So I can't plan my weekend radio stuff until the times of the games come out. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm putting together the puzzle piece of the times because I don't get them. Like, it's not NFL where
because
you know
they will start this process on Saturday night late and Sunday morning, and ESPN dictates a lot of it. But what you just said, Fox picking that first Big Ten game now dictates what's left for CBS at 3:30 or for NBC at 7:30 Eastern time, and they alternate between what game they want to pick.
Well,
so
the
it's dictated by
highlighted thing here is a big one that I have on the screen. The caveat that impacts the draft strategy is Fox knows Ohio State and Michigan will not play night games after daylight savings time because they don't want to be out there all night and they want those games over with. So they have to play those games at noon. Now, Ohio State and Penn State, he says they're fans that whine about the noon games. They don't want to play Friday night, that game, that Big Ten game that you get on Friday nights as well. They don't want to do that. And then Penn State will only allow one night game after daylight savings time. So you're really
what is this? We will only allow one game. You're taking billions of dollars from these TV partners, and if they want to play the game at 10 p.m. Eastern time, these are the people paying you for this. Good Lord, on dictating but that's some of how the scheduling sausage is made. I remember seeing a piece, and we'll move on here in just a second, where ESPN has a designated person, and that is their job throughout the college football season to have the grid in front of them of these are the games available to us. And this was much crazier when they had the Big Ten. So now they have the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 games to choose from because, again, ESPN's completely boxed out from any Big Ten games. But this person's job is look at the grid and then give us the games that are going to have the most impact in the pecking order that we need to select from. And that's all this person does is work on the slotting of what's on ESPN2 now, what's on ESPN at 10 p.m. tonight, what's going to be on at noon on one of these channels, what goes to the ACC network, what goes to the SEC network. That is that person's job for the fall. It's wild to have the schedule grid.
Yeah. By the way, Bama, Georgia, did we say this? 10 million on ABC, Oregon, Penn State, 7.7.
Right. And the Bama, Georgia game I did see peaked at over 12.5 million in the final hour. And you would expect that with the dramatic finish. And the Oregon, Penn State had a dramatic finish.
And NBC says 8.5 million watch when you count Peacock.
How about that? All right. Let's go over a couple of more things here as well. Where do we want to go next? Do you want to go to the Ryder Cup on Sunday? Before we get to Sunday, can we just say this? Too many bloody commercials Friday on USA Network, Saturday on NBC. I'm trying to watch the golf, and we get spoiled because the Masters allows only limited commercial interruptions. And ESPN's been criticized about this with the U.S. Open golf coverage. Too many ads. There were a couple of times on Friday and Saturday where they literally had over 20 minutes of ads in a 40-minute time period. Way too many commercials, only 2 matches on the golf course at a time, and we're watching ad after ad after ad. It was ridiculous. And I understand that they have to have the advertisers to pay for it, but you can't convince me that running the ad for the 7th time, for the 10th time, for the 12th time is making you that much more money. It's more of the frequency of it. All right, you're showing the audience on Sunday. I wondered about this. Would the NFL football swallow up the Ryder Cup coverage on NBC? Go ahead and read that for the podcast audience that can't see it. The video audience can see it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, 5.3 million viewers for the peak for the Ryder Cup at 5 o'clock on Sunday. That's when the U.S. tried to come back in there. So 5 o'clock, right after the witching hour of the 1 o'clock game. So
that's right.
I guess you had those early 4 o'clock games right around halftime. At halftime, you bailed and went to the Ryder Cup. It seems
you basically had like 9 NFL games that would have been ending somewhere around 4 Eastern, 4:30 Eastern, something like that. And what happened, the U.S. was being blown away by the Europeans, but they won all of the early matches where the United States won matches over Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, the best European golfers, John Rahm and Rory McIlroy. They all lost in the initial early matches. And so that meant there was now drama once that football was ending. So at least they got some audience, because they were looking at that number being half of that, maybe worse, if this thing was long decided by 4 Eastern or 5 Eastern time. So at least the Americans hung in. I've heard criticism that they should move this to earlier in the calendar. They're not going to do that. Should they maybe look at playing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and not play on an NFL Sunday? Maybe that's something else to consider for the 3-day event. What do you think of that? Maybe move the days, move it up a day and move the schedule. The 3 days are Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You like that idea?
Yeah, I mean, listen, what's it bigger for, the television or the venue? 50,000 people there. I know 2 people that went. They're wearing the outfits, they're hooting and hollering. I don't know. I mean, obviously 5.3.
And then again, that's a good number. That's not as big as the Masters final round, which is usually an April Sunday, sometimes an Easter Sunday. It's not as big as the U.S. Open final round that usually gets like 8 million people watching, but it was still good against the NFL. And let's say this, the vile behavior of the New York fan base. I mean, Philly fans got no room to talk, but the insults, the vulgarity at the European players, that does not go on when we play over in this event in Europe. This is supposed to be a civil sport, a sportsmanship sport. That was asinine. That, you got somebody throwing a beer on Rory McIlroy's wife, and threats being yelled and people being ejected. Just idiotic behavior. We know this. The Ryder Cup and the PGA of America is not going to put a Ryder Cup back in New York. Not anytime, probably in our lifetimes. You're not going to see it after how embarrassing that was. And the Euros overcame it. And won. I realize golf is not for everybody, but this is a big deal. This is an us against them. I mean, Mike, this used to be an afterthought because we won all the time, and now the Europeans win most of the time. So now it's a much bigger deal because we lose. And when we lose, everybody cares more about that with the golf. All right, shall we move on real quick to Major League Baseball on the Last Word on Sports Media podcast as we do this live on the video show
right
Tuesday.
Now, the Yankees are winning 1-0, by the way.
All right, so the games are already underway. Am I to understand the Cubs have beaten the Padres earlier in the day in Game 1, and also the Tigers beat, who was it earlier in the day? Cleveland, who caught them, by the way, for the division race. And so now they're rematching. So those are all Game 1 wins. These are best of 3 series playing out today, tomorrow, and if necessary, Thursday at the same site. What about that Yankees-Red Sox here in prime time? How massive do you think that will get as Tuesday becomes Wednesday? And if there's a winner-take-all Game 3 on Thursday, what do you make of that? What do you think of that for Yankees-Red Sox building?
By the way, so you have Yankees-Red Sox on right now, and then it's followed by, you got the Dodgers tonight at 9 o'clock. So it's a little earlier than a normal West Coast time. So you should have good back-to-backs here. The Yankees thing is interesting. I think these numbers are going to do really good. Baseball has been up all across the board, everywhere, attendance, ratings, everything. So you get a 6 o'clock game, Red Sox-Yankees. I mean, generally this is a Sunday night baseball game. They get 2 million people. You're probably going to get in that Ryder Cup 5 to 7 million range, I would think, here for this game. The interesting part about this is if the Dodgers-Red series goes 3 games and the Red Sox-Yankee series goes 3 games, and they're the only 2 series left, the Yankees-Red Sox game 3 of the wild card, which would be a elimination game.
Winner take all.
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Interesting for the scheduling. Wow. They wouldn't have them both in prime time if necessary.
They announced that I actually, because we carry the playoffs for the radio, so I have the schedule, and, I have all the scenarios if there's 3 games, and if there's 2 games, and if there's 1 game. If there's only 1 game, it's at 7 o'clock. But if there are 2 games, and one of them is Dodgers, because the game is going to be out in L.A., you can't play them
at noon local time, right? You can't do that. And bear in mind, this is ESPN and ABC. This is Disney scheduling the games, putting some of them on the network on ABC, putting some of them on ESPN. And by the way, this is the last time that Disney, ABC, ESPN is going to have the baseball playoffs. They've had the baseball playoffs since the late 1990s, I don't know the exact year, the mid to late 1990s. They got the wild card round that year. And I think they also used to have a divisional round too before Fox took over. And then eventually Turner came in about 15 years ago and began to show the divisional round in the league championship series. So after this week, ESPN, ABC no longer has the baseball playoffs. They'll have regular season games next year, but this is their swan song after 30 years of doing the baseball playoffs.
You had Sean McDonough on the ABC game, Cubs and Padres. So good to hear Sean McDonough doing baseball. Big fan of him doing baseball play-by-play.
There was a viral moment where he was not back in the booth at the start of an inning. I don't know if you saw this. And Todd Frazier, the former Colorado Rocky, right, is the analyst that they're using. And Frazier kind of picked up at the beginning of the inning talking, and I have a feeling that was a bathroom break for Sean McDonough at Wrigley Field because he got in on like the 3rd pitch of the at-bat. So a nice pickup by Todd Frazier, the analyst, on that Cubs game.
Todd Frazier, by the way, is a Jersey kid, Tom's River. Very famous. He does the Little League World Series because he won the Little League World Series playing for Tom's River. He did get drafted by the Colorado Rockies, but did not appear for
Never
them.
played
He
for them.
is best known for his time in Cincinnati with the Reds, where he made a couple All-Star games, and then he bounced around. He's with the Mets, the Yankees, the White Sox. But Todd Frazier in these parts is
I'm thinking of Todd Helton, my Colorado Rocky.
There you go.
Who had a massive career for them and is also better known for the trivia question that he was the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee instead of Peyton Manning's freshman year until Peyton Manning came on. How about that? But the baseball playoffs do roll into this weekend. And by the way, we have one other footnote, and I'm involved tangentially with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers radio broadcast. Buccaneers head to Seattle to play the Seahawks in a Week 5 game that is currently, Mike, my phrasing is important, it's currently scheduled for 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on CBS, a regional broadcast on CBS. But that game could move because the Seattle Mariners are to host the divisional round with Game 1 and Game 2. Game 1 will be Saturday, and they share the same parking lot. The Mariners are in the T-Mobile Park, what was Safeco Field. The Seahawks are in Lumen Stadium, their stadium, and they share the same parking lot in between them. How do they reconcile playing Game 2 of the baseball playoffs and an afternoon Seahawks-Buccaneers game? We'll go ahead and put this out here on the Last Word on Sports Media podcast. One of the things that's being discussed is the baseball game may go first. My understanding is the Mariners have the deal with the city of Seattle, and with the parking, they get priority over the Seahawks. It's written into their deal. And Major League Baseball now has that as leverage. So the Mariner game, you talk about an early start for the Dodgers. The Mariner game might go at noon Pacific on Sunday, 3 Eastern time. And then the Buccaneer game slides back an hour and a half to something like 2:30, something like that Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern time. stay tuned on what Major League Baseball announces, what the NFL does with the start time, because one other thing we know, the Sunday night game is the Patriots and the Bills, and NBC pays a boatload of money for the exclusive Sunday night game. There can be no competing game, no scheduled competing game, so presumably the Buccaneers-Seahawks game has to be over with by 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern time. It may be allowed to bleed a little bit into the start of that game, but it's not as if they can say, let's just play 2 Sunday night games to solve it. Now, baseball could play a late night game 2 with Seattle on the West Coast if they wanted to, and Fox is televising both of the games on Sunday, so Fox is involved too. I know I said a lot there, but the bottom line is all of this is in flux for Sunday.
Well, this happens a lot here because the Eagles and the Phillies and the Sixers and the Flyers all share the same complex. Like, for instance, we're all trying to be sleuthy on what time the Phillies are going to play on Saturday, game 1. The Flyers have moved their preseason game up from 3 o'clock to 12:30. So that kind of gives us a clue that the Phillies will be the 7 o'clock game, not the 1 o'clock game. Because what would happen if the Flyers played at 3 and the Phillies played at 7, you got
nowhere to park. You got chaos, right?
You would have people leaving the Flyers stadium at the same time the Phillies fans are coming in, and they're both in the same. Now, they both have their own parking per se, but the whole complex is all parking. You have the Phillies stadium here,
right?
The Flyers here, and the Eagles next to them. So you park at all of the different spots, but if you have one event going on at one,
traffic disaster, because you've got like for the Phillies game, you're going to have, what is the stadium seat? 45,000 citizens.
45,000.
Okay, you got 45,000. Let's say that a third of that, okay, conservatively is driving. You got 15 to 20,000 cars trying to come in, while your 20,000 seat hockey game, probably not full for an exhibition game. Let's say that's 6,000 cars. I'm just throwing a number out, trying to leave. You got 6,000 cars trying to leave with 20,000 cars trying to come in to the same area.
This happens.
And Seattle's got to do the same thing Sunday. That's the point, Mike, with the Mariners.
But those 2 games, you have a preseason hockey game, which they're just saying, okay, we'll move up and get out and get this game over with. That is an NFL game which has television tied to it, contracts, and a Major League Baseball postseason game. So
correct.
That's a tough one there. Although I guess theoretically they could play the Mariner game as the late night game.
They could, but again, you got Fox involved. Fox is also showing the other American League game, Milwaukee.
And Fox doesn't want the game up against Sunday Night Football.
And the other American League game is Milwaukee against either the Red Sox or the Yankees, while the Mariners play either the Tigers or the Indians. So would Major League Baseball say to the Mariners and to Fox, isn't this better just to put this game on Monday, have one Fox game on Sunday, put the other game on Monday? I don't know what they're going to do, but they definitely have an issue.
The Monday
Sunday
night game is Kansas City and Jacksonville, so you probably don't want to go against the Chiefs. Not great option.
Well, TBS is already doing it. TBS has got 2 divisional round games on Monday, and one of them will go against the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, well, the Phillies,
ESPN.
looks like the Phillies game 2 is going to be on Monday at 6 o'clock is what. You know what people are doing here? They're going to their guides on their television and fast-forwarding through, and you're seeing like
what's the
who's
tip?
Getting placed in the spot. So
what's the
people
tip? Good sleuths.
People want to
Good
plan
detectives.
of course. Plan
if you have paid, and you've paid drastic gouging for a playoff game, you want to know what time the game is to be able to plan your Monday afternoon if you're in Philadelphia, or your Sunday afternoon if you're in Seattle. Seattle's only been in the postseason one time in the last 20 years. They're going to be going bananas for the Mariners for these games this weekend. And so the fans want to know, is the game on Sunday or not?
I got something for you. So tomorrow the Phillies are playing an inter-squad game.
Okay. To stay loose, to stay warm. Right.
They opened up ticket sales, and they had said they were only going to sell tickets for the lower bowl. They sold out in an instant. They ended up opening up the upstairs. They sold 29,500
to come watch an intra-squad, essentially scrimmage, not even a real game.
It's just an inter-squad game between the Phillies and the Phillies as they get ready. So it's at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and 29,000. which was
Is there gonna
more.
be a radio play-by-play of this? Is the radio team going to call the game or no?
That I don't think so. I don't think the radio is doing it. But it's apparently there are more tickets sold for this than the Rays, obviously. The A's average attendance for the season.
Interesting.
And a handful of other teams. Cincinnati. There were 2 playoff teams that did not average 29,000 fans for the whole year, and they sold that for tomorrow's Intersquad.
Interesting. All right, so stay tuned on the baseball. Again, if you get a Yankees-Red Sox game 3, but then you're putting it in the afternoon, as you mentioned, on Thursday.
Only if the Dodgers are also in a game 3, and that's the only other game 3.
Okay.
So if the Yankees,
what happens
Red
if they
Sox,
have 3 game 3s? What are they doing? 2 of them in the afternoon? And then obviously the third of whatever they choose will be at night, right?
Well, I could give you that answer if you would like.
Give me that scenario. If we have 3 game 3s, where's that Yankees? Because Yankees Red Sox for the Northeast and the hated rivalry, that is worth an extra couple of million. Sorry, it's not the same thing. It's the Dodgers against who? The Dodgers in the wild card round and the Reds.
Yes.
No one cares. No one cares outside of LA or Cincinnati about that game. So
there you go. There's your answer to the question.
So blow that up a little bigger. So if it is a Thursday game 3 here for any of the game 3s, they would look to play the Yankees and the Red Sox if there's 3 of them at 5:30 Eastern time. And if it's only the 2 games, scroll that up there again. If those other series are over with, again, the Dodgers and the Red Sox would be in the afternoon standalone. Oh, I'm sorry, the Yankees Red Sox would be a standalone, and the Dodgers Reds would be the night game if there's only 2 of them left.
Right. So if Cincinnati and the Dodgers are done, but the other 3 are all in game 3s, the Yankees would be 7:30, the Cubs would be 4:30, and the Cleveland is 2:30. But if the Dodgers are still alive, as this first scenario points out, then the Dodgers are the 8, because remember, the Dodgers games are all out at West. The games don't move back and forth.
Late afternoon start. They're all at one location, simpler to televise, but you can't have the Dodger game at 2:30 in the afternoon on a weekday.
Correct. So that Boston Yankee game. Now, here's the situation. If there's only 2 games, and this is where the Yankees, the highlighted one here, if the other 2 series are done, and the Yankees and the Dodgers are playing game 3, that the Yankees are at 2:30.
Afternoon game. Crazy. All right. Stay tuned for the wild card.
By the way.
That is the final, and that's, again, ABC not wanting to mess with their primetime programming. That's part of it, too. That's the final games for ESPN and ABC in the postseason after 30 years. These games that are going on this week. Listen, great job. Thank you to the audience finding us on the video show, Mike Gill Show YouTube page, or on social media on Twitter. Follow him at Mike Gill Show. Follow me at Buck Sideline Guy. I'm going to head out to Seattle for whenever that game's going to be played. I'll be back with you to report back more next week. Let's see what's happening with the baseball playoffs. You've got the Phillies there in the baseball playoffs in your market. Stay tuned for all of it. Follow, subscribe on the podcast feed. What else? Anything else?
By the way, yes, to Thursday, the Sixers and Knicks are playing a preseason game at noon in Abu Dhabi, and on Saturday at 11 a.m.
So they're playing in the Middle East.
In Abu Dhabi on Thursday at noon and on Saturday at 11 a.m.
So we got to keep track of a Phillies inter-squad game, a Flyers exhibition game, and a Sixers exhibition series of games that are in the Middle East.
Yeah,
other than that, we don't know what else is going on.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw the WNBA numbers.
I have not seen this for their postseason, which is narrowing down to the finals.
And, yeah, by the way, Austin Karp 45 minutes ago, Game 4, Indiana Fever. This is no Caitlin Clark, and they're in this with the Aces of Las Vegas, average 1.4 million viewers on Sunday. Second best WNBA playoff game ever on ABC, and the full WNBA semis, 8 games are averaging 1.3 million. They are up 48% compared to last year's semis.
Now, important to point out, I mean, this is good. It's better. But she wasn't involved in the semis or in the finals last year. She was already eliminated, and the Caitlin Clark effect didn't help the end of the postseason. It's still quality basketball. We don't have the time here, but you've got this player, Nafisa Collier, from the Minnesota Lynx blasting the commissioner of the league and blasting the league. The WNBA needs a real reality check
I'll
here.
tell you this. They just got a new media deal today. I don't know if you saw this. They just signed an 11-year deal with USA Network.
Interesting, which is NBC, which is Comcast.
Versus.
Stay tuned on that. All right, good nugget there. Again, for the podcast audience, subscribe, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. If you've not done so, video audience, go find us on the pod. Pod audience, come see what we look like. We're here chopping up sports media every week. Mike Gill wants to get off the air, off the mic, and go have some dinner and go watch some baseball playoffs. Well done, my friend. Have a good week. We appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you.
There's Mike Gill. I'm merely TJ Reeves. You've been with us on the Last Word on Sports Media podcast.